Welcome back to another episode of Life After Moto. Tonight, we sit down with Shawn Rife, a rider whose journey through motocross was anything but ordinary. Like so many racers, Shawn dedicated his life to chasing the dream. Long drives, endless training, injuries, setbacks, and the constant pressure to perform. The kind of sacrifices most people never see, just for a few minutes behind a gate. But this conversation isn't about racing. It's about what happens when the dream changes, when the helmet gets put away, the routines disappear, and you're forced to figure out who you are outside of motocross. We dive into the highs, the struggles, the lessons learned along the way, and how those experiences shape the man he is today. Because sometimes the most important chapters of a rider's story happen after the racing ends. This is Shawn Rife on Life After Moto. If you like what you hear, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe for future podcasts. Shawn Rife,
Yes, sir.
aka Lil Ray Ray, the way I remember you.
Yeah. I'm not sure that many
What's going
people will.
on?
Hey, not much, man. How you been?
Dude, I can't complain. Just getting a little bit older and just loving life, man. Loving the other side of life now. How are
Absolutely.
you how are you doing? What's Shawn Rife got going on today?
Well, today, I just obviously recap today, but I flew in last night to Gainesville. I've got a good relationship through Jason Baker with the Kern family. They own Gatorback Cycle Park, and the last, I believe, 4 years, I've kind of helped them out with all their regionals, winter ams, mini O's, doing all the track work here, and got a good relationship with Keegan, Wynn's son, and yeah, so they obviously have a regional this weekend, and I flew in a day early to get the track together for that, and yeah, just ripped the dozer all day. But outside of that, everyday life, just obviously, like your your show here, Life After Moto. I've been blessed with great opportunities to stay in the industry and run heavy equipment and build tracks as long as prep them and help with events and things along that line. And yeah, so it's been about, I think I started working for Jason Baker in the end of 2016, 2017. So yeah, just been growing from there and elevating my expertise in track building and event scheduling, planning, as far as the dirt side of things. And yeah, let's, just kind of learn every day and see where we go and stay kind of contacted with what we grew up doing. And yeah, it's about where I'm at right now.
The When you say Jason Baker, is that with Dream Tracks?
Yeah, so Jason Baker owns Dream Tracks. I started working for him in like I said, end of 2016, 2017. He actually purchased Moto Sandbox. It's now Moto Sandbox. It was just the Nest, which was kind of more of a private riding facility. It was Ryan Villapoto's, it was Langston's, and then Eric Grondel. They purchased it when Eric was, running pro, and then Jason actually bought it from them. And one thing led to another. I started working for him in early 2017, and he was just leasing the property. And then, yeah, like I said, one thing led to another. I wound up moving to Florida for close to roughly 4 years almost. Pretty much end of 2016 till 2020 ish. I managed the Moto Sandbox facility and kind of helped him uh, get his program off the ground. And then late 2019, early 2020, I moved back to Ohio. Um, now just travel and build and Yeah, so as far as Jason Baker, it's the owner of Dream Tracks, Moto Sandbox riding facility, and then now he's partnered up at Lake Elsinore um, Raceway in California. So
Okay. So are you doing strictly builds for like new clients? Or like you said, you're at Gatorback now doing some prep and stuff for their regional? Or is it like, are you maintaining like a facility like what you're doing down there?
I maintained the Moto Sandbox for, like I said, 3 almost 4 years. And now I've transitioned kind of to a little bit of everything. Obviously learning and gaining experience on new builds, new clients, event structure, everything that has to be involved with, a track, a race, safety for a track or races that are going on. Um, we do Daytona amateur days at Daytona, so we go up, we show up and do the track changeover Saturday night after the Supercross, and then work the amateur event there. Um, the last 4 years we've done Budds Creek National, and that's pretty much just like a prep job. They have such an
Mm-hmm.
iconic track there already that we don't do a lot of track stuff, but we go in the week before, kind of just give a lipstick to all the faces, landings, anything that may need critiquing a little bit, and then help them solely on the prep and just kind of work the event as far as the pro national at Budds Creek. So as far as like one, one avenue or one lane in the dirt bike world, as far as excavating and running equipment, it's um I would say it's kind of open. Like I'm open to go prep. I'm open to go build. I'm open to go, do. We've got some clients that we have on quarterly preps that we've done public or private tracks, and we have them on a schedule to where we come back every 3 months and give them a facelift. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So as far as like just trying to chase one avenue and do strictly new builds, new clients, like I'm open to whatever, but. Um, growing up in the sport and being so like digested in it forever, I just want to be a help all around the board as far as that goes. Um, I've kind of held myself to the standard of, when I was young, we didn't have the money for someone to come build us a big badass track and have the things that some other people had, and
Mm-hmm.
I try to put forth the message that you know, not every track is going to be 40, 50, $60,000. Like if you've got 3, 5 acres and, you've got a decent budget, like we can come build you something in your yard. And I want to be
Mm-hmm.
I want to be that stepping stone for, the youth and the generations under me to be able to be able to have something that they can go ride at and not cost an arm and a leg, considering how much the sport is, already to even be competing in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool to hear. I don't really know of anyone at that caliber or your caliber, that will is willing to do that. It seems like a lot of guys that do that sort of stuff is, like, hey, we'll come build you a whole facility, but the price tag that comes with that is pretty
Absolutely.
freaking high dollar. I remember just having my own little supercross track, and maintaining it and stuff like that, man, that was a huge expense in itself just to be able to ride on a safe track day in and day out. But it sounds like from what you're saying, you're just kind of a jack of all trades. You're learning all different equipment, different dirts act different, so you got to build things a little bit different. I've seen some of
Absolutely.
your pictures of some of the tracks, dude. I don't even know how you want people to ride on those things after y'all get done because they look
Dude,
so freaking cherry.
it's tough. Obviously, um, we kind of hold it like, hey, while we're working, while we're building, like let's stay off of it. Let us get this thing. We've worked so hard to get this thing perfect and pristine. And once we make our final passes and we're okay um with what we have and we're happy with our final product, and
Mhm.
especially paying customers, it's like, hey, it's yours now. Go do whatever. I would advise to stay off the sides and things like that, so you can get some grass to grow and kind of
Mhm.
grass on the side of the jumps. It's great for infrastructure purposes. The root bed of the grass kind of holds your
Mm.
sides in and stuff. But if you're standing riding on
Mhm.
them, it's hard to get that to grow. And but yeah, as far as it goes, like yeah, I definitely don't want someone just trampling all over it while we're trying to finish up. But you're a paying customer, and once we're done, it's out of our hands and into yours, so you can do whatever you want with it at that point, I guess. So um now there is things where if you want a full facility and you're talking water truck roads and infrastructure and fill stations, and yeah, there's different budgets and price tags to whatever you're willing to build and do. And I always tell every one of my customers, like, I'm kind of a budget-based track builder. Um,
Mhm.
I don't feel like obviously I work for Dream Tracks. I work with Jason. He does very high level jobs. As far as like my
Mm.
downtime and private tracks up near Ohio and stuff, I'm more budget based.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not afraid to go, dig in the dirt and every track's not going to be a freaking pocket full of money. So
Yeah.
with that being said, I'm budget based. If you have, it doesn't make sense if you only have $3,000 and you want a dozer and the dozer's $3,000. Like, yeah, I'm not coming to work for free.
Yeah.
But let's
Yeah.
get a budget together. You don't need to have freaking Red Bud Motocross Park in your backyard. Let's get a budget together. We'll work together and try to get you something so that you have a dream track in your backyard pretty much. It may not be what the next guy has, but he may have spent way more money.
Yeah. Yeah, you get what you pay for. That's
Absolutely.
across the board with with anything, and that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna
exactly.
ask you is, do you have, like do you have equipment that you bring with you? Or you said you fly to these places and do that type stuff. You factor all of that into your budget, obviously beforehand, or I guess it really just goes on what people have or what people are wanting along those lines.
Yeah, so as I've grown and as I become more proud in the work that I can do by myself, um, I've tried to steer away from like, hey, my neighbor has a dozer and my buddy has a skid steer, because now I can't provide you with the product that I want to leave you, because, you know,
Mhm.
we're dealing with the unknowns. You're bringing me a dozer that's, I have to stop every 15 minutes because it's overheating, or, whatever the case may be. You never know
Mhm.
what dice you're going to roll on them. And I feel like I'm
Yeah.
at a level now to provide you with what I'm going to charge you and to provide you with the job I want to leave you. I need to kind of be in charge of the equipment that I'm going to run.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as carrying my own equipment around, it I travel so much that it doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
just carry equipment around. Yeah, I mean, I do have some equipment at home, but it's more for residential excavation stuff, water lines and things like that. It's not for track building, so to speak. So I don't even really offer that to customers that are local to me.
Yeah. So what was it when you stopped racing, what was it that got you into the whole track building thing? Was it something that you've always kind of tinkered with, or was it just like a total switch from riding and you're like, you got the opportunity and you're like, hey, I'm gonna figure this thing out on the way? What was that scenario like for you?
So, pretty much when I was about 12, we moved out to the county and my dad got like 12 acres. and we didn't have equipment, but we at first, we started renting a skid steer. And over
Mhm.
the course of the next few years, I figured out like, oh, I can get my way around in a skid steer. I could stack up some dirt, and I kind of know how to run a skid steer. And then as I got a little older, that transition to renting a bulldozer, and now I'm figuring out how to run a bulldozer. And then once I even when I was still racing, kind of at the tail end of that program, I built I did some coaching, and some of the kids that I had coached, I went over and built some just, you know, private, super thrown together tracks. Like I didn't know nowhere near what I knew now. And um,
Mhm.
so I've always had like a niche for it, or like a passion for it. And then one day out of the blue, I seen that Dream Tracks was um looking to expand, need help, kind of thing. And I actually sent an email, and there's about a month went by. I hadn't heard nothing. I'm like, yeah, that's just gone in the wind. And then
Mhm.
the longer I'm working with my dad doing hard manual labor and carrying logs and all this, I'm like, you know what? I, kn- I know a few people that know this guy. I need to use my references and catalog here to, you know, even if he tells me directly, like I'm good, we found somebody. I'd rather hear that than nothing at all. Um,
Yes, yes.
so I had a couple people reach out that knew him a little more on a personal level than I did, and I still didn't hear nothing for quite a while. Like I want to say a month or so. And then one random day, I get a random phone call, and it's Jason. He's like, "Hey, we're doing a project at the Baker factory. You think you could be here on Tuesday?" And this was like a Sunday. I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Mm.
bet." I was like, "Yeah, I'm there." So he's like, "Well, I'll get you a plane ticket and this and that." And I told him, I'm like, "Dude, you're on the sandbox. Um, I'm gonna load my bike up. I'm gonna drive down, and I'm in Ohio at this point. I'm gonna drive down to Florida. You try me out for a couple days. If we hit it off and there's something there, then
Mhm.
great. If not, then I'll just go find some tracks and ride and make a little trip of it. And
Yeah.
it is what it is."
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I drove down, and yeah, it was pretty much, yeah, writing on the wall there. We hit it off. I mean, I was nowhere near what I am now in equipment. I still,
Mhm.
learned a shit ton over the years, and still learning today. But um, I think I knew enough. And he knew the caliber of rider I was. And it's
Mhm.
so hard to take somebody that knows how to run equipment if they haven't had a racing background, and teach them
Mhm.
kind of how a track should be. So I
Mhm.
think he kind of knew like my racing background, plus I know my way around equipment a little bit. It's way easier to
Mhm.
teach somebody how to run equipment that has a track building understanding than it is the
Mhm.
opposite. So, yeah, we hit it off, and now I work for him obviously, but I think it's more of like business partner stuff. Like we're more friends than anything, and yeah, it's just kind of spiraled into what it is now. And I've had the great opportunity to do so many cool stuff. I mean, Red Bull Straight Rhythm on the beach, and all 4 years of the imagination, and a lot of
That's so
things that
sick.
been truly blessed to be not only a part of, but me and Jason's kind of trust and connection goes pretty far. And even me with some of the riders like Dearman and some of the guys that are hitting these jumps we're building, like I felt a lot of times they leaned on me and him. They're like, "Yo, like, what do you think?" I'm like, "Well, I can tell you,
Yeah.
you better be winked on her." Um, and that's brought me some great friends, and Verb West, which I know from the past and been close friends with, like
Mhm.
rekindled relationships with him from the amateur days, and I've seen him a lot over the last, 4 or 5 years. And yeah, to be in the position I'm in and be as close with some of the people that I grew up kind of admiring and seeing, like it's been a blessing for me as far as, the life after Moto deal, just like, like
Mhm.
your title of your show. Like, there was points where I'm like, dude, what the hell am I doing? I'm dragging logs around, and I could have, if I cared a little bit more, if I pushed a little harder, if I trained a little harder, if I listened to my dad a
Mhm.
little more, like I wouldn't have to be carrying anything but trophies around.
Mhm.
I would like to think at one point I had the ability to go that length, but
Mhm.
things happen, and I always told Jason, he's like, dude, you're a hard ass worker. Like you'll go daylight to dark, past dark, whatever it is. And I said, well, I gave up on a dream I had to um that was really close to, and now that I have this second kind of wind and um life behind me, like I'm an adult now. I got kids. Like that work ain't nothing, you know.
Mhm.
I missed out on one opportunity. I'm not gonna let that slip by again.
Yeah. That's you made a valid point with, the perspective of a racer compared to a 9 to 5 dirt worker that builds, residential pads. If you tell him, hey man, like I want a track, they're usually up for the challenge, but more than likely that track's gonna be a little sketchy with transitions and just the flow of it, and the stuff like that where I guess I never really thought of it, from a rider perspective. You mentally, what you want that pocket to feel like, or what you want the whoops to look like, or, just basic stuff that I guess I've always overlooked until you said something about it. That is the difference between getting hurt and riding on like a safe track compared to just, a regular track like that. And then,
Oh, dude,
like to
it's. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say to your second point was I feel like as a rider, like you said, those guys lean on you a lot, for those, especially those huge jumps that y'all are building and stuff. So putting a lot of trust and faith in you, goes a long ways for someone that knows what they're doing and how like you think about approaching these things.
But absolutely. It's like, you know, if you're building just a standard like freestyle course, it's, not saying anyone could do it by any means, but any kind of track builder that has a whereabouts and knows numbers, like you can throw a ramp up at 75 and build a landing big enough to, kind of catch you. Um, but as far as like the
Mhm.
imagination stuff, the numbers were everywhere. I don't think we had a jump under like 90 feet unless it was just a setup into, a pocket to get you there. And
Mhm.
obviously the riders we had coming there are next level free riders, and we put all of our trust into them with the same respect of they're putting their trust into us, because a lot of them guys,
Mhm.
outside of a handful, it's all metal ramp guys, right? Like it's the same takeoff every time,
Mhm.
it's the same angle, you're not building it out of dirt and, you know
Mhm.
hoping it feels the same when you take off, because the traction's different, the elevation's different, things like that. So, um, I got to see and learn a lot through the imagination process. I mean, we got to the point where we're doing our landings at a certain degree, and so many different things. If you're falling 9 feet, we need it to be this much different of an angle because now the trajectory's different. Like we actually got into a lot of the science behind it, and that made the riders feel a lot more
Mhm.
comfortable too, just because of their experience and then understanding what we were explaining of how this is going to react. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's not for the weak. There's a lot of long, long, long days. I mean, I have so many videos on my phone of, the guy leading our pack, Jason Baker. He's out there freaking 10, 11 o'clock at night just because there's no one else out there. He don't have to tow four and
Yeah.
five guys what to do and where to stack dirt. And, he would rather go out there for an extra 4 hours by himself, no kind of distractions and, just kind of get to work and kind of do a lot of that special carving stuff that you see. Um, because I could,
Hmm.
I've kind of managed jobs and been having people around, and sometimes it's easier to just be like, hey, I'd rather just put the monkey on my back and do all the work because it's hard to keep
Yeah.
explaining and telling and you know in that scenario. So yeah, I mean, as far
Yeah.
as it goes, it's
It's funny you say, sorry, I didn't go ahead.
no, you're good. I'm done. I was done.
Um, so it's funny you say that because I totally didn't even, you like light bulb went off is when I was younger, I went filmed a video out this place called Caneville. And it was like, I think the video was called Global Addiction or something. Greg Godfrey had shot it. But I was on a 100 and there was a bunch of guys that are just metal ramp guys that were out there. And dude, they could do a backflip Superman, but they
Right.
couldn't hit a basic little rut 10-foot like hit jump. They would crash or like get sideways, or
Super
whatever, just
sketch.
off of those little tiny, it's super sketchy, but could hit a freestyle ramp like it was just nothing. And it's funny when you say that, it kind of dinged that thing for me. I was like thinking of those guys just going up and
Yeah.
yard sailing it off those like little hip jumps.
And we put a lot of excuse me, we put a lot of like integrity into the face. I mean, dude, we put a big freaking, you know, hydrostat roller on these faces like a ride on. We were shoving the roller up the takeoffs with the skid steer, getting complete compaction. Um, It felt very similar to ramps, but it's still different. If the dirt was a little
Hmm.
wetter this morning than it was last night because the water set in. Now you have some traction. Now a second gear roll on, you're really gonna catch some traction. You might, go 10 feet longer, which 10 feet longer may be a big upset. Boo boo. Um, so yeah,
Hmm.
it's at least with the ramp and things like that, it's more consistent and more guaranteed. So I give the guys that came there, all the riders we had over the years, I give them so much credit on, we're out there building for a month. You're talking pretty much 28 days of 20. I think we built at least like really built for like 22 days, and then we still kept building and finishing and developing even through sometimes the practice days that they had, just kind of things that they would want tweaked and different scenarios. And I could have, I know what we were doing in those 3 weeks, 20 24 days, whatever. And for somebody to come in
Hmm.
blindsided and look at this place and be like, "Oh my God, like I got to figure out how to hit all these jumps."
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty incredible stuff, man. I wish a
Yeah.
lot more people got to witness it, because it was definitely. I don't know if it'll ever come back. I mean, we're pushing for it and things like that, but it was definitely a time for me, so, especially. I grew up a jumper. Like I love jumping.
Hmm.
That was something that anything that people said, "Oh, you ain't gonna jump that," it's like, okay, yeah, we're about to go do it.
Yeah.
So that is like right in
Mhm.
my wheelhouse, building a bunch of big ass jumps that we hoped everyone would hit. Um,
Yeah. The- That's that's crazy, to say like how much time and effort y'all put into it because you see just the clips on social media, and stuff like that. And it's not really even like a fan. It's not like y'all are building this in the middle of like an arena for thousands of people to come witness it.
right.
It's it's definitely a grind. I know just moving dirt. I know my brother does it for a living himself, and it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of hours sitting behind one of those windshields day and night, and a lot of people just don't understand the effort it takes and the like. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's just like it's a lot of work, dude. Like no matter what you're
Yeah,
doing, it's a lot of hours to put something like that together. A lot of thought goes behind it, but it shows, dude. Like when you see that stuff, it is. It's like imagination. It is the coolest thing that
yeah,
I've seen as far as that goes.
yeah. It's really cool. I mean, one thing that I know me and Jason and or Jason and I, whatever, we're trying to bridge the gap between, like excavation and dirt bike track building. Because everyone thinks, you can just go build a dirt bike track and it shouldn't cost that much. But it's like, okay, we'll go rent an excavator and a dozer and a skid steer for a week. And before you even put teeth in the ground, like, you know, just add those bills up without even counting fuel, and it's like,
Mhm.
there's so many people digging ponds and doing $100,000 landscape projects and general construction excavation, it comes with a cost, but there's a standard to it. Like if you're gonna go dig
Mhm.
a 2 acre pond, pretty much every excavation company in your surrounding area is probably gonna give you about the same quote, you know, to where track
Mhm.
building is it's peaks and valleys. Um, and like I said, it comes with the cost of the sport. Obviously, I mean, it costs a lot of money to buy
Yeah.
dirt bikes and go race and travel and sacrifice and um
Mhm.
that kind of thing. But we are trying to somehow like bridge the gap to and not just for us, but for the people following us and the people that are in the industry building dirt bike tracks. It's an art and it costs money to do it. And that's just the bottom line. The hard cost of it
Yeah.
is hard. It hurts. But
Yeah.
um and then not only that, now you most of the time you gotta buy equipment to maintain it. So it's like it's a never ending battle if you want
Mhm.
to track. But
Yeah.
I do think there's very highs that come with having your own private track. You go out your back door and go ride and get your work
Mhm.
done instead of driving 2 hours to do it, or things of that nature. You know how much money you could save just riding all summer at home instead of driving everywhere to do it. Um,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the theory I'm trying to stay behind. But I also do want to be that guy that um, could come give people tracks that not necessarily I couldn't have when I was growing up. Um,
Yeah. That's
so
cool. Well, speaking about growing up, like I remember you and known you for quite a while. We obviously haven't spoken in a long time, but you were one of those amateur prospects growing up. I remember pitting beside you quite a few times, getting to hang out and ride together during the week a little bit. Um, tell me a tell me a little bit about that story and how was it growing up as a amateur prospect like yourself?
dude, for me it was different. Probably the most. No background in racing as far as like my dad or anyone, like zero. Actually my
Mhm.
dad's dad unfortunately passed away when he was like 13 years old. So at that point he comes the man of the house. Like um we didn't live in the best area. Like I grew up in some pretty hard times up until, like I said earlier, we moved out to the county when I was like 12. Um,
Mhm.
I remember winning Loretta's when I was 9, and I literally rode in the abandoned park that was beside our house. Like I had a turn track around the ball fields, and so my
Oh, no
message to
way.
Oh yeah, we had jumps built by shovel, like, but we just loved it that much. We went out there every day and just rode, pushed. Like before we even knew what training was, we just loved it. The passion like drove me into being a national champion. It wasn't nothing other than,
Mhm.
hey, this is way different than we've grown up and we love it. You know. Um it
Mhm.
was years down the road before we really realized what the hell we were even doing. I think I started racing when I was 6, probably almost 7. Um, and then it just happened so fast. But I had great people around me. Once we started getting into racing, I met Tyler Bowers. Um, they were super good to me and stuff like growing up. Like that was kind of one of my first friends. He was local. We lived in Columbus, like 45 minutes away from me, and I just stayed at his house for the summer. Like later on down 10, 11, 12, whatever, once we kind of really made a statement in the sport and it's I say it all the time, like when I'm ever in conversation about it, it almost happened so easy. And like, I'm kind of like not a crazy spiritual God person, but I believe in stuff happening for a reason, and I try to do the right thing, be morally correct, and it's almost like it was the path that I was guaranteed supposed to be on. There was no pushback. And it kind of just happened
Mhm.
so easy that when it got point to the time where like I signed a deal with American Honda for, you know, 3 years, I think, from 12 to 15. And, um, I feel like a lot of people be like, man, I dreamed of this. I dreamed of doing this. That's why it's paying off so much right now. And to where me on the other side, it was like, it just happened. Like, I don't even know that I dreamed of
Yeah.
being a professional motocross racer. It just happened. It snowballed and it happened in a way that was just yeah, it was obsolete. Like it was gonna
Yeah.
happen regardless. And you know, as I got to the point where the work needed to come in and really I had some pretty severe injuries. Um, it I don't know that I put the effort in. I didn't put the work and the time in that I needed to because my life before in the racing world, it just happened so easy. Like I didn't feel like I had to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we didn't put in work and go to the track and grind out days. And I remember after my dad making me do 400 push-ups, 400 setups, all these things before I even go to a buddy's house. But this is when I was 10, like I put in the work to
Mhm.
do the results that I was, but I don't know. It's a weird thing for me. Coming from where I came from and grew up the way I did and the setting I had, it uh it almost felt like it was too much or like I wasn't supposed to be where the pro level went as far as being a champion and all these things. Like I just didn't, after the injuries and I lost touch of the guys in front of me, Tomac and Barsha and Wilson and Anderson and Baggett and all these people, like them 3 years of compound fractured tib and fib and full ACL and my shoulder still jacked today. I lost touch with that community that I once battled and raced with and won against. That the confidence was never there again. The fear, there was so many things that once I really did go pro and um I was so close to it and so kind of tied into the industry that once I went pro, I knew what they were
Mhm.
getting as far as bikes and I knew what I wasn't getting. And it just was a hard dynamic to battle against. Um, and no excuses, there's been many privateers that have worked their ass off and made it to teams and won. And but yeah, at the end of the day, I'm man and straight up say it like I just didn't have that in me.
Yeah.
Started hanging out with the wrong people out of high school, smoking pot, wanting to chase chicks, and uh, I went to regular school, so it just it didn't pan out how it should have. And then I went pro, and I had a couple highlights like top tens in Supercross and um other things like that. But I can say like once I went pro, like yeah, I would do my half-ass cycling and all these things, but I never really like put my head down, grinded it out. Like let's see where we can go. all odds against us.
Mhm.
Let's come back from this, So I feel like I left a lot on the table
Mhm.
with that, and that's why I take what I'm doing now like so um to heart and important. I'm still in the industry. I still have the same name I had. I'm still loved by everybody, and locally and everywhere I go. Like, hey, when are you going to ride again? It's like, no, just give it up. We're done. Like, I moved on,
Yeah.
and it it is what it is, man. I put my time in.
You were saying, you know, about your amateur racing and stuff like that, and dude, some of those names that you've mentioned are, like, obviously the top guys in the sport today that you were battling with, through the amateur stuff. You had some injuries that happened. You signed your factory Honda deal through the amateur ranks like that. Were you ever making any money from, like, doing amateur racing with those times? I know a lot of people were.
I mean, as far as like salary or like straight up money, no. Obviously, even when we were younger, contingency kind of
Mhm,
program. I did have a double contingency program with Honda, and um I was able to race, I believe, like three races a week. Um, but with that come like a lot of work, like not a lot of work, but just like a lot of background. Like I should have had somebody doing these things for me if we do better. But
mhm,
because you had to go on the and also I believe my contingency was for any race. It wasn't just a contingency paying race. Like I could go to a fair race and get double contingency. But
mhm,
I would have to go print off my results, email my results, submit, um, and then I would just load the money on a card. Um,
mhm,
if I told you how much money I probably didn't do that for, it would
mhm,
probably be absurd. Um,
mhm.
but I thought, I think like me and my dad and just our family in general thought that we were just so far like already on the projected path to go be a top level pro that it
Mhm,
was never really about money. Um,
mhm,
it was just about, the story, the path, the winning and the losing, the ups and downs. I remember, I think right when I signed my deal, it could have been a little sooner. I think right when I signed my deal with Honda, I remember Malcolm McCasey was the rep for Alpine Stars,
mhm.
and I think he brought my dad a contract to the table, which I think was, I can't quote this exactly, but I think was like 80,000 to wear Alpine Star gear for like 3 years.
Dude, that's
Um,
wild.
I do believe. And my dad said nothing to me about the money, nothing. He asked me straight up, like, what kind of gear do you want to wear? You want to wear Fox or do you want to wear Alpine Stars? And I'm like,
Mhm.
I mean, at that point in time, like Fox Elite program was like tough.
Dude, it
Um,
was so sick. I was so
yeah,
jealous.
it was insane. So I'm like, I mean, that's kind of a dumb question. Um, is what it is. I think he
Mhm.
come back. He went back and told Malcolm like, we're just gonna stick with the program we got. Um,
Yeah.
knowing what I know now, I would have surely um taken the money and and ran. Because
Yeah.
who gives a shit what you're wearing at the end of the day?
Mhm.
Um, and then so that was kind of one of the things there. Like as far as I know you were saying money and stuff like that. I think that was probably the only like real like cash money deal on the
Mhm.
table as far as amateur wise. Um,
Mhm.
and shout out to Todd Hicks, the Fox guy. Like when I went pro. I didn't realize that there was levels to the sponsorships. Todd Hicks was in control of the amateur side of Fox Racing, and then once
Mm-hmm.
I went pro, um, I transferred over to Beaker, which he has the pro budget, and you've got Dungy, and you've got these guys, and you know all these top guys that are winning, which rightfully so, they're gonna get the lion's share. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, Beaker was kind of just like, I really ain't got much for you. Like I can give you maybe two pairs of boots, couple of helmets, 4 or 5 sets of gear, and I'm just coming
Mm-hmm.
off of unlimited plan, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, I should have took the 80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Dude,
know what I
it's
mean?
crazy. It's crazy amateur racing.
You
I
get
remember
more.
I rode for Shift at the time, and it was,
Yep.
partners with Fox. But
Yep.
Rob Salcido, dude, he
Yep.
would outfit my whole family. My
Oh,
mom, my dad, my brothers. We had shoes, socks, underwears. I mean, boxes of clothes that would show up in the mail weekly. And it's funny you say that because when you do turn pro and you're kind of, it's like it's a total restart on
dude, it
all of that
is.
stuff.
It is. It's 100% is. And I've never been one to like for one like burn bridges, and my loyalty's over always been huge. And you know, I remember so many times Aaron West and Todd would be like, "Hey y'all, you need to order some stuff." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't need nothing. Like, I'm
Hmm.
good."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Dude, you got unlimited contract. Like order gear for your family. Order this, order that."
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm good, dude. You didn't send us 9 boxes. Like, what else do you
Yeah.
want us to order?"
Yeah.
You know?
That's when it
Like,
was fun, dude. That's when it was so fun. You just get, and they would just be like, I'm going to send you a care package anyway. You just see it
yeah.
show up on the porch, and it was just like Christmas morning.
Dude, I used to, dude, they had that red warning tape
Mm.
on the boxes. You remember it
Yeah. Oh,
always,
yeah.
you knew when a Fox package was there because it had that red warning tape. And I was like,
Mm.
let's go.
And then, dude, not only that is, I remember like my last year amateur, dude, I got 16 motorcycles. 16. Where when I turned pro, I had a race bike and a practice bike. I was not
Yeah,
used to the like even, that switch there. I just think it's
absolutely.
funny. Like the amateur kids do get, some really rock star treatment. And I definitely took that side of it for granted because I didn't get half as much. Yeah, I got money, but I didn't get all the other things that we're talking about, like when you make that jump over.
Dude, you're exactly right. Like, I think when I signed with Honda, it was right when the 150 was coming out. Um, I think I got 12 bikes. I was not in the super mini class yet, so I think I got 8 little wheel Honda 80s and 4 big wheel. And I
Hmm.
remember just like my friends from school would come over and be like, "The hell do you have?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know." Just but then by the end of my like 80 career, this is like a Honda graveyard. It's like
Yes.
freaking all of them were just trashed. We never sold nothing. We weren't people that, you know, would utilize because I think there was maybe something in the contract where like these were your motorcycles, whatever you do with
Hmm.
them at the end is, you know, you can sell them, do whatever. But we just we ran the absolute dog, you know what, out of them,
Yeah.
and it was done. When I was done with it, we
Yeah.
didn't want
It
it to
needed to.
sell it to nobody.
That's funny
Um,
you say that.
but yeah, dude, amateur racing. I mean, I'm not obviously I'm at Gatorback. I'm kind of in the know of the riders and kind of how the amateur racing is going now, but I'm not indulged in all the extra stuff. I do know in our era and what we went through, it was some really cool times. You know, all the sponsors were really cool, especially if, you know, you were at our level. And, um, you know, there's a lot of people that had my back through so many things. And, um, I always been loyal to everyone that looked out for me. But it is funny, like you said, when you transition to pro, you're like, holy shit, like I may have should have took advantage of some of this stuff that I should have
Mm-hmm.
stocked up on extra product the last 3 years so I could have had some
Yeah.
stuff for the pro race. I think I was like unlimited
Yeah.
handle. I was unlimited handlebars and grips through Renthal. Obviously, it was really tough to get that for chains and sprockets. I do think I got
Mm-hmm.
an excessive amount of chains and sprockets before I went pro. But when I went pro, they're like, uh, yeah, we're gonna give you 4 sets of handlebars and 8 sets of grips, and you're gonna have to pay 50% off for chains and sprockets. I'm like, how? How is this happening? I thought when you went, I thought when you went pro, dude, it was like, hell, we're here now. We're getting it all. But no,
Yeah.
it's a lot different. You you figure out real quick that the budgets for the pro level are way different because they got all these teams they got to take care of, and um, at
Mm-hmm.
least on the amateur side, they have a just an overall budget that they disperse to the people that they want to, or the people that are worth it, or
Mm-hmm.
that are receiving it. Um, but I figured I was thinking about it last night, knowing I was going to come on here. I know, me and you and Hunter Hewitt and there would be several of us that would link up in the wintertime and ride at the Hewitt compound. And there was some funny stuff that I thought about. Like I remember uh I remember that game Halo. We would
Oh
get
yeah.
that you would get them Xboxes and Hunter had the freaking badass crib and there are like 3 different rooms with cords stretched out to all of them. And we're playing freaking Halo. Like nowadays, you just need some Wi-Fi and you can play online. But back then, I don't think they had
Yeah.
that like that. That was
Mm-mm.
some funny, cool stuff, man. That's some of the fondest memories I have of when I hear Matt Lemoyne or any of that. It's like, dude, I've had some great memories with that dude growing up, and even from way back in the day. Obviously that was I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know how old I was then. I was probably 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Kilbarger
Yeah,
and
that's
Bowers and dude, we freaking used to ravish that house and fucking pour soap and SC1 on the floor and turn it into a damn water park.
I think about it now. I think about that stuff now and like obviously being a parent, if I was coming home to that type stuff
Oh
and why
my
Bobby
God.
would always get on to us so much, but like now I understand it. I'm like, dude, it's funny you say Halo because dude, we had the cords ran like out the windows and we had
Oh,
all the Xboxes we could get linked up, and we couldn't cheat because everybody had to have like their own TV, because everybody was like screen watching and stuff. Yeah, dude,
that
those
was
were some
gnarly.
really cool fun times.
And I remember, dude, you may remember this story. I remember, and actually, I see him every year at Budds Creek now. You remember Taylor Johnson?
Taylor Johnson.
He was a really, really badass rider. His dad was wild, like really hard on him. He rode Suzuki's, from Georgia. Um, anyway, he works for the Pro Motocross series now. He puts up all the monster like arches and all that shit at the races, all the signage and all that. He manages all that stuff, and I see him at Budds Creek every year I go just because he's setting up. And he was actually at Hunter's with us one year, and his dad was pushing him to ride the Supercross track, and he freaking was blitzing that dragon back on the 80 and
Mm-hmm.
wadded up and broke both of his wrists. Um,
Oh man.
Taylor
Dude, I don't
Johnson, he
remember
was
that.
a great rider. I think his number was like I don't even know, maybe like 77 or um
Dude,
if you've seen it,
I
if
pretty
you've
much
seen him like
lived there.
yeah, I thought of you when he told me when I seen him and we were talking about old times last year at Budds Creek, and I was like, man, I wonder if Matt remembers that, dude, because that was a gnarly day. His dad was pushing him so hard. I mean, we were young on 80s riding Supercross, hitting the triple and stuff, and I'm like, dude, this kid's pushing this stuff hard. Like, does he understand how far these whoops are apart going up this dragon back on an 80? Like, this is gnarly. And he
Hmm.
was doing it, they were,
Yeah.
he was grinding it out. And then it obviously went bad. And I think he went front wheel over the top, kind of traditional dragon back crash. But, um, we had a lot
Mm.
of good times over there. I mean, dude, we had some
Yeah.
freaking serious talent there a couple of them years that I was there. I mean, Villa was there, Tyler Bowers, yourself, me, Hunter. Um, I don't know if Dino was there ever back then at that age,
Yeah.
but I do know is this Tyler Stewart
Yeah.
or what fuck, I can't remember that kid's name. 385. Uh can't
380.
remember that kid's name. Um
Dude, I'm sitting here trying to.
he was a great rider. PJ Larson. Um which
Dude,
PJ
Stroop.
Stu, dude, I'm like, holy shit, we're showing up to a national.
Dude, it was like that place was. That's why when you said that,
That's like
my
modern
point was
day
earlier
train.
is like I lived, yeah, like I lived there, so I seen all of the guys like yourself come in, stay for 2, 3 weeks, and it was always so many people, but so many great people along the way, like you said, from Villapoto, Wilson, Stroop, Nico. I mean, it's crazy too because the Whartons had a facility right across the street, and they had
Yeah,
their own entourage of people. So
yeah,
within like a couple miles of each other, dude, there was, I mean, yeah, you think about it, just Kennard, Jimmy Albertson. I mean, dude, that place had seen the most elite riders that there were, at that time, especially like before the Lake Whitney and Mosier Valley, and those Texas nationals that used to be. That was like, if you came there a week or two before those nationals, there was
yeah,
so many fast guys there riding.
yeah. You were getting down to business, that's for sure. That was like kind of like that was like the facilities now today, but just in a more different setting. We didn't really have a coach or somebody there telling us what to do. It was just our family showing up, freaking. We kind of did our own thing, but we all rode together at the same time. Like it was,
Hmm.
that was like, you know, perfect day scenario for anyone that was wanting to see, talent and ride with the best. Like I said, I mean, there was, I don't know how many years. I think I went there 3 years for a couple weeks at a time, but um, there was no lack of talent there. That's for sure. And I think that's what pushed Bobby, to do the team thing, and I think all those years growing up and seeing what he provided us for to have, you know, that
Mm.
that kind of spiraled him into building teams and seeing what, you know, putting a group of people together and what you could accomplish over a short period of time. I think that had a little bit to do with it, in my opinion. Obviously he may have a different
Yeah.
opinion, but um,
Yeah.
I always
No,
remember
that's one
that. Those
thing.
were,
So one thing I know of Bobby, like going back to what you were saying is like the last year I rode with Kawasaki was that Extreme Team Green. He
yep,
put that team together. And
yep,
then that transpired into, like the Motorsport Kawasaki, and then that transpired into Rockstar Suzuki, and then Rockstar Husqvarna. If there's one thing that I can say about Bobby Hewitt is that guy knows how to start up a business and put the people in the right places. He is a business guy, and he did it time and time again. And, unfortunately, Husqvarna just locked up or whatever they had going on. But He put together some very successful teams, and I think, like you said, that stemmed from those days.
Yeah, I mean, dude, even that then, back then I know he owned that countertop business or whatever. I was kind of too young to really even know what business was back then, but I do know that I spent a lot of time there and I didn't see him a lot, which told me that he was, grinding it out and getting where he wanted to be, and that made me have respect for
Mhm,
him even at a young age because it's like, dude, look at this badass place you got, beautiful home, laid out property, tracks, and you're still, grinding it out day in, day out. I don't, and you obviously spent way more time there than I did, but the few weeks or month that I ever
mhm,
spent there, it wasn't like he was around, like he was gone before we were up and he was back before we was, chilling, going to bed. So, um,
mhm.
surely work ethic runs in that family. I will ask, you talk to Hunter much anymore, or what's he is he involved at all, or is he kind of branched off into some outside dirt bikes program, if you know?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, I have him on social media, and I see that he has he's married, he has a little girl from what I know, but I haven't talked to him or I haven't seen him in a very long time. So,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I hope he's doing great, and that whole thing. I do know my brother ran into his sister at, like, you remember that Mexican restaurant, Ernesto's?
Yep.
Like, right
Yep.
down the road?
Yep.
And I know she's doing really well. She's married, has a couple kids, but as far as Hunter, no, I don't really I haven't spoken to him in a while. I'd love to reach out to him, and see what he has
Yeah.
going on, see how life's treating
Absolutely.
him.
He'd be a good one to get on him, man. It was crazy. Like never gonna throw dirt on anyone by any means, but I think he's a great example of like hard work and I want to say this carefully, but I feel like the first couple years I went there, I don't know if he really gave a lot of care about riding and racing just because of his mentality with it. But I watched the progression out of him um build throughout care and discipline, and he really became a hell of a rider up into
Mhm,
when he quit, and I was proud to see that. Just being a fan of the sport, I always admired that he rose above other things and became a great rider. And obviously, I don't know what he's doing now, but I always liked Hunter and appreciated the way that they opened their house for me and my family and other people that we came with. I was I know it still happens in our lifetime in our generation here where we're at in amateur motocross, but I think it's way less of it now. There's so much more secrets and so much more things going on that people aren't willing to open up their house and feed you dinner and all these things. And um, obviously I'm on this podcast with you, but that's something that surely stuck with me through my years of growing up is the open arms and doors that they had for somebody that they really didn't know, nor did I ride for Bobby. I wasn't a Cali rider. Like, um, the fact that they, did that was surely respected and appreciated through us, Whether we said it throughout
mhm,
time or what, I would like to say that now that on record that definitely that was um, a memory that I'm fond of throughout those years of being able to experience that with such high level people. And I feel like that kind of helped create the friendship that we had or still have like throughout the industry and stuff and sport. I don't know that not that we're like tight and talk all the time, but I think that I don't know that this
mhm,
podcast would have happened outside of, that connection being there and spending several weeks with you guys over the course of a younger stage of my life, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I did. I was lucky enough that Bobby and Karen, took me in as like one of their own. And that was a huge transition in my life coming from Louisiana, moving to Texas. Was like Hunter was my best friend, and Bobby honestly gave me all those tools to even excel to where I was able to do that. And, with that came friendships like yourself and so many others. Like, I don't even think this podcast could have happened from n- a lot of the people that I've met from West, at Verb and yourself. And like we were just naming so many people, they had so many movie parts shot out there, like in just the amount of talent all around. I think when you think of our era of racing, if you say the Hewitt's place, like 80% of people either been there or heard about it or knew about it, like it was just one of those things that it was kind of a staple in that whole like you said earlier, it's kind of like that was the training facility. That was all the tools you needed. They had it at that place right there. And I do. I'm very grateful for that. Like I still live 5 miles down the road from where that place was at. Like I
Right.
live in my
Yeah.
house now just right down the road. And yeah, it's crazy. I moved here from Louisiana and I'm still here now at, 37 years old. So it's changed my life and I'm very grateful for that too.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, your show is life after moto, but at some point you gotta as far as, telling my story, it's what led to life after moto, right? Like um all the stepping stones and the connections and the people and all the things I've learned, but all the things I didn't learn. That's kind
Mhm.
of what's got me to my life after moto.
Mhm.
So as far as being on here, I want to broadcast like kind of, what brought me to where I am now. And
Mhm.
outside of the accolades and the winning Loretta's and the big jumps that everyone, dude, at least 5 times a year, I still have people like that tabletop at Loretta's you was hitting. That was, I'm like, it
Yeah.
was, yeah, it was, but I was
Yeah.
way more than that. We were way more than that one time that everyone remembers. Um, and there's a shit ton of people that were really, really, really good. I mean, I couldn't even, if I got a piece of paper right here in front of me, I couldn't write down the amount of names that were contenders when we were kids. I mean, you're Trent
Mhm.
Pugmires and I mean, dude, there was so many kids that were good. And, as far as what I would like to broadcast on your platform is there is more after moto. Um, I like to think of it like my kids, right? Like, everyone's always like, dude, the first 5 years, and you don't want to miss out on it. They grow up so quick, and but I don't. Also our kids are going to grow up and they're going to be adults, and they're going to have 80% of their life still left. I want to spend
Mhm.
and create memories through that 80%. Yeah, do I want to
Mhm.
miss, the first 5 years when they're kids and they're actually kids? Oh, I don't want to miss any of that. Yeah, do I sacrifice a lot of time to
Mhm.
travel and do what I do to provide? Absolutely. But I want to create a life to where in the future, you know, my kids want to be around me. They want to come visit. They want to go travel and come to dirt bike tracks or whatever the case may be in that scenario and have a relationship with them furthermore down the road when they are adults, when they are looking for help. And um, I said that to say this: it's like motocross in our life is a period of time. It isn't. It consumes our life for a period, and then it,
Mhm.
it will always be in our blood. I watch every single. outdoor every single supercross. I look up to them dudes with the highest regard, and I will always do that. Um,
Mhm.
but I want people to know that there is an outlet after it. You know, hey, there's plenty of operating opportunities. There's plenty of film and photography opportunities, especially if you're a high pronounced name in the sport and you've actually, you know, not disregarding anyone else, but if you already have an in with the industry and you're already a name in the sport, but you just didn't make it, or
Mhm.
you made it a couple years and you just didn't pan out to be a champion and you're done with it, dude, don't be afraid to reach out to your friends and don't be afraid to reach out to the people that were there for you in your highs because in this sport, they're going to be there for your lows too. And they're going to pick you up and they're going to help you um, move forward. And they may have an opportunity that you can't pass up. Don't think you just got to go back to your hometown and fall into the same line of doing whatever everyone else is doing just because this didn't pan out. The way to grow our sport, I know like Hayden Deegan and Jet and all them, they're growing our sport on a level of racer and mentality. But I think it's up to us, the guys that um don't race anymore, that have, you know, stepped back in at uh a different avenue, different lane that are projecting someone to try and follow something that they still have passion about. Um, and that's kind of been my whole thing. It's like I'm passionate about it. I love it. Yeah, the injuries and the sacrifices, it all that did was build character. You know, I it don't matter to me.
Mhm.
I still love dirt bikes. I love watching them dudes. I'll cheer for the best of them and have no remorse in it. I'm not mad that they made it and I did it. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I know that there's lanes and avenues and open alleys for way more people that are, you know, in our sport to grab a hold of and take off running with and you know, that doesn't mean you have to ride. I don't ride really anymore at all. Like I'd rather
Mhm.
golf. I'd rather go fishing. I'd rather hang out with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about riding. And I have so many people ask me that, oh, why don't you ride no more? Why? Dude, I sacrifice a lot of time and energy for 20 plus years riding and racing. To grow a little bit
Yeah.
as a human, you got to kill a little bit of yourself. And, you know, I
Mhm.
hate to say it, but I've killed that part of myself. I've killed that part. That way I can focus on other things, and be an adult. And, you know, anyone that's going to listen to this that may feel like they don't know where to go, like, dude, don't be afraid to reach out to your buddy. Don't be afraid to reach out to that facility that's looking for a trainer or a, you know, an operator or, you know, whatever the case may be, because you never know what'll happen. And I'm a prime example of that. I was a guy freaking cutting trees down, dragging logs and throwing wood in a pile. And
Mhm.
I utilized my contacts, and here I am doing Red Bull events and working with one of the baddest track building companies in the country ever to do it. Um, and I'm sitting at Gatorback Cycle Park, about to be kind of lead role on the track for the amateur youth regional, for Loretta's, you know.
Mhm.
Never, never give up on hopes and dreams, even if they you know, kind of ended where your mind ended, because there's other things that will help you and carry you on along the way to at least let you enjoy what you're doing and not feel like you're in this trap of everyday cycle. Because as men, women, whatever, if you're a go-getter, you're going to be stuck in the trap of trying to provide, trying to be,
Mhm.
you know, the best you can be. For your family, for whatever the case may be. And I just want people to enjoy what they're doing, and get paid for it, you
Mhm.
know. And I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity out there for several different levels of it.
Yeah. It's well said, and I'm guilty of it myself, dude. You know, it's I went away from racing. Obviously, this has gotten me back into moto. quite a bit. It's got me to rekindle a lot of those relationships that I truly enjoy. I get to speak to, a lot of people that obviously don't even have on the show, just motocross people in general. And it goes back to like even the Hewitt's place. Dude, the community in racing is huge. You meet some amazing people along the way. And what I look at it as now is just like networking. Like it's a huge part of it. A lot of people that race dirt bikes own businesses, and that's how they race dirt bikes. I feel like a lot of times, even in like my line of work now, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It
Oh, it
goes
is.
along with racing too, it gets you a long ways. But no, that's cool you said that. I never utilized that, like, oh, I'm gonna work in the moto industry, and then I kind of just took the first thing that came with me, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. But yeah, I think it's cool, what you're doing. That whole thing kind of worked out, and it sounds awesome. It sounds like you're truly happy, you're enjoying what you do, and you still get to be in that moto world, kind of connecting with those people that you grew up with. And I think that's important and that's cool. And I love to hear it. I love that perspective from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I could easily say, when I crazy story for you. So my last ever Supercross was 2015 St. Louis Supercross. I In 2014, I lost my best friend to a car crash. Um, First ever funeral I've ever been to. Um, that kind of like it almost like took the wind out of me. This is I grew up in a little rural area of Ohio, and this was the only dude I rode with. It wasn't like he was a superstar rider. He was a C class rider, but he showed up every day. We rode. I put my
Mhm.
time in. He'd cheer me on for it, whatever. You know, he ends up passing away. I'm like devastated. I mean, was in a really bad spot for not like drugs and going down the path, but just upset, just didn't know like, holy shit, the first funeral I've ever been to is my best friend's. You know what I mean? It was just hard to deal with. Um, and
Mhm.
then as spring went on, I kind of took that emotional disconnect and turn it into like training. Like, okay, we're about to go send it. We're about to see what we can do. I've never done this. We're about to get
Mhm.
after it. We're about to 2014 into 15. I'm going to train harder than I ever trained before. And we're going to just see what we could do just for him. I mean, one time. And I didn't go the supercross route. I was going to go the AMA arena cross route, a lot more local to me, a lot less overhead, a lot
Mhm.
less talent. Not that that really meant anything, but I thought, hey, let me push hard. Let me get into this program. Let me go chase some victories and get back to where I used to be without having the
Mhm.
overhead of Barsha and Tomac and all these people that I have to race. Um,
Mhm.
First round, I go out, kid freaking last lap of practice, throwing a checker flag. I Kid's in front of me. He rolls way outside before the finish line. So I kind of come up into the turn, cut down. I'm gonna hit it on the right. He's gonna hit it on the left. We're gonna end our lap, go off the track, be cool. He
Mhm.
rolls the jump, frame cases the top because it's so steep. That pulls him all the way to the right. He don't move over at all. I'm already committed in the air. I land right on top of him, endo into the berm, like destroying my hip, wrist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just put in 3.5 months of the hardest work I've ever put in, the most ready I've ever been, and now this. So anyway,
Mm.
I say that to say this. Sat on the couch for 3 months, over 3 months. Tylube Honda was a team. at this year. Um, their riders got injured, so I believe it was Buddy Brooks got a hold of my dad. Hey, would you like to do a fill-in ride? And my dad tells him like, look, we're coming off pretty much 3 month injury, like no promises. Like we'll probably come do it, but I can't guarantee you anything. So okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you remember the Vonlingers at all. Matt and Luke Vonlinger, they're from Kentucky. Um, they're close with Ty Lube just because Buddy Brooks was out of Kentucky there. I met him at an
Mm-hmm.
indoor track, grabbed the bike from him, started riding it for like a week. Go to the Supercross. I actually end up winning the LCQ, which is, I mean, yeah, that's cool. I mean, it wasn't where I thought I should be, but I didn't even want to be in the LCQ,
Yeah.
let alone. I mean, yeah, it was cool to win it for them, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm getting like, I don't know, 17th or something in the main. Just wasn't prepared physically for it. Petered out. And anyway, so we're leaving St. Louis and they have a privateer parking lot. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
had parked and backed up our van to a fence. So it was like 25 degrees out. Once we left the stadium, I ran to the van with my gear bag. And when I got to the van, I just slid my gear bag beside the van because I couldn't put it in the back yet, considering we were butted up to the fence. So I jump in the van,
Uh-huh.
and then the Bondlingers we're waiting on them because we're going to transfer this motorcycle that I have back to their van once they get there. Well, this was like 30, 45 minutes later. We ended up pulling up to their van, which was like 2 rows ahead of us, unload the bike, load it in their van, cool. Um, and obviously it's still winter in Ohio, so we're not even thinking about riding dirt bikes outside or anything. And about a month
Mm-hmm.
later, I'm like, yeah, weather's finally getting around. Like, I'm gonna do some riding. Well, I go look for my gear bag and look for my gear bag for like 2 days. I'm like, I cannot find my fucking gear bag. Dude, I done left my gear bag in St. Louis. It had 2 sets of knee braces, 2 helmets, 2 sets of boots, gear, goggles, gloves, everything that I needed there. And that right there was the last time I even thought about racing competitively. I was like, you know what?
No way.
That's it for me. That was my retirement, bud, was leaving everything I owned in a gear bag in St. Louis. For
Why? Let
real,
me ask
bro.
you, why, how did it take you a month to realize that you had none of this stuff?
Well, because it was freaking 20 degrees in Ohio. We weren't doing no riding. So I just never really I never really put two and two together. The next time I wanted to go riding, I was going to get ready for just outdoor riding. And I'm like, yo, my gear bag ain't even here. Unless probably some bum freaking
Oh
riding
man, that's
around on a
funny.
20-inch with some JT racing gear and a helmet and goggles and boots on. Fucking just ripping, dude. I created bike life in St.
That's
Louis in
funny.
2015. So yeah, that was
So that was your
that's my last race, bud.
last hoorah?
Last
Damn.
one done.
Man, that's crazy.
And it's crazy. And like I said earlier, like you got to kill a bit of yourself to move forward. And I don't say that lightly. It's not like, hey, you just gotta kill yourself to move forward. Like I'm not saying that at all. But you have to chew away
Mhm.
you gotta chew away at things you used to do to be able to add new things that you're willing to do. Um, and yeah, I felt highly in my soul that when I left that gear back there and I couldn't see it no more and didn't have any of my knee braces or any of that, I was like, yeah, I think it's it, man. And then I went on like a 3 or 4 year run racing locally in blue jeans and a jersey. It was out there dogging them in blue jeans, bud. For real.
I
And it
could
was
just
crazy.
see you, dude. That is awesome. Pulling up in a El Camino.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, shoot, man.
Yeah, that's
What are some things? Is there anything that you miss about racing that, feeling that, or how do you feel that rush that you got from racing? Is there anything that you found that matches that, or how do you cope with that?
honestly, man, like I think being able to build tracks at the level that I do it now, it it really soaks up a lot of like that adrenaline because there's something about
Mm,
freaking pushing dirt or stopping a big pile and then getting on it sideways in a dozer and you have that like hard drop or it's not like, oh wow, my animosity, I'm on the gate, I'm about to race, my adrenaline is just flooding. I don't know that I've had
mm-hmm.
that, but like as far as just like um the overall just kind of scare tactic of some things, I guess. The
Mm-hmm.
rush, I kind of catch glimpses of that rush. And another thing that I've kind of filled the void with on not being able to line up and stuff is being able to build tracks and be in the community and the industry on a level that I never have been. I honestly feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
won a championship being able to do what I do. I feel like I've accomplished more
Mm.
in track building than I did in dirt bike racing. Not necessarily on the amateur
That's
side,
so
but
cool.
surely the pro side. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I will hope to be, if I stay on the trajectory that I'm on, I will surely be more of a household name in the industry based on my professionalism and what I do now than what I did then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I look forward
Yeah.
to. I try not to gaze at the past and what could have been. I try to focus on what I'm going to do. And that kind of
Mm-hmm.
substitutes the what if and the how come and all that. And like I said earlier, I got a
Mm-hmm.
second chance to do something that I love. And I think that's taken away from all of the what ifs and the how comes um, in my life, at least. I can't speak for everyone, but that's just kind of how I've felt with it.
Yeah.
And like I said, once I left that gear bag in St. Louis, it was a wrap for me. I wasn't winning. I've grown up winning my whole life. So running around in 10th, 15th, 17th, even winning the LCQ, like that wasn't good enough for me. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
as you as well. I mean, you had some really good finishes in Supercross on 250 or whatever your last bits of hurrah, like, but it's still not enough, right? Like unless you're
Mm.
that guy, like it's not enough if you've already been that guy. It will never be. So um filling the void with positive and another thing is, dude, is like my my connection with like faith and stuff and just being positive and um having a or having a higher power that I kind of think about and also that translates into there's so many other people that don't have opportunities that don't have the situation that are in a way more kind of worse off situation. It's like how can I sit around and bicker about what could have been? Look at the life I lived through
Mm-hmm.
amateur racing and the life that I was able to the friends and all these things that I accumulated over the time. I'm just blessed that I got to
Yeah.
do that. Even if I didn't do what
Mm.
I'm doing now, I think I would still hold some accountability on, damn, man. We did a lot of things, have a lot of great memories, a lot of great friends, have so many contacts that I could call
Mm-hmm.
and just, hey, how you doing? And this is 15 years ago. And that's something that I
Yeah.
see a lot with people that never leave their hometowns and always have the same friends and they go through the same fights. It's like I didn't have to deal with any of that. I have friends that I ain't talked to in 10 years, just like yourself. And we just talked for an hour
Hmm.
plus. And I feel like I've seen you yesterday. I'm
Yeah.
blessed to have those connections, and that's what keeps me going every day is there's people out there that care. And I like caring for one another, and no matter what you're going through, if anyone of my friends, old friends, new friends see this and are going through anything of whatever it is, addiction, it's anything, life problems, dude. This if you got my number or my Instagram, hit me up. Like I'm an open book, dude. I run a dozer all day. I got my headphones on. I'll talk to you for 4 hours, bud. We'll church it up and you know we'll we'll figure out we'll figure out why we're blessed. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at,
Yeah, that's
though.
a
It's
good
like,
yeah, no, that's a good a great perspective because I feel like the people I've spoken to and even myself, dude, you'll never find something to fill that with. But it's good to take the
no,
positives and look back at it as just an awesome part of your life and you could just cherish those moments and just it's easy to sit there and think about all the negative stuff, what could have been, I could have been here, this guy's winning, and I was beating him. Man, if you go through life like that on a day-to-day basis, you're never going to be happy. And I feel like what you said, you nailed it. It's taking the positives and like, dude, that was a cool childhood that I got to make, the connection you and I remember your dad, like those things are something that like even my wife has nothing to do with racing. And I explain her these or try to talk about these situations and stories. And when I talk to you and other people, they just don't get it. Those type of people, it's like a bond that you can never break. And I'm grateful for my childhood. I'm grateful for the memories I had with my family and how close, getting to camp and do all that type stuff. I love that perspective. And I think to your point is like same thing with me. If you know someone going through some crap or whatever, hit me up. That's what this is for, is to just
yeah,
talk about some of that type stuff.
yeah, absolutely, dude. Life is not easy. It's if
Mm-mm.
if there was a rule book and a checklist for how to be rich and how to be this and how to be that, then it wouldn't be what it is today. We would all be just freaking robots, and it would, there would be no level of existence to it. So, I do know that when you spend some of your whole life doing a sport, an agenda, whatever it is, you played baseball your whole life and now you're not playing baseball, but you're trying to figure out what to do. Like it's hard, man. And when you become a parent and provide and have to work and sacrifice, like that's hard too. There's nothing easy about living successfully and having discipline and getting up in the morning. There's nothing easy about it. And I think I see a lot of famous podcasts these days and they do a lot of good talking, but it's like at the end of the day, dude, we just need to realize that ain't none of this easy. You got to wake up a
Yeah.
beast inside of you that tells you to keep moving forward but then what that creates is that creates a level of security and a level of like almost like promise to yourself that no matter how hard it is, if I just keep showing up,
Hmm.
I'm cool. I can sleep at night. There ain't nothing going to alter my mind because I know today I did everything I could today. And that keeps
Hmm.
people off of the wrong path because you're so worried about doing everything you can that the wrong path don't even
Hmm.
show up for you. It's obsolete on that.
Yeah.
What path? That path ain't even there no more.
Yeah.
I'm focused on this trail. And the more
Yeah.
people we can get going down that trail, the more successful people we have, the more less stressed people we have. And I'm here to broadcast whatever help or anything that they need to successfully help people get out of the tread water that they're in and start canoeing, start floating
Yeah.
because it's it's a rough patch, man. I'll be lying if I said it
Yeah.
ain't been hard. It's taken sacrifice and
Mhm.
discipline and um wanting something and believing in it and believing in yourself and it's not just gonna
Yeah.
happen for you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. It's having that self-accountability, and no matter what avenue you're in, the self-accountability and holding yourself to a certain standard is key to success in anything. And
Anything.
you have to show up day in and day out more than a week. You need to show up
Yep.
day in, day out. Give yourself a year, give yourself 6 months and set that goal and strive for that goal and not just give up in 2 weeks because shit got hard. It's like that across the board. And that's something that I'm trying to promote myself, and you said it perfectly. It's you gotta hold yourself accountable to be successful in anything. Nothing's gonna be given to you these days.
Oh, 100%. It's like it doesn't matter if you're freaking, if you want to be a teacher, if you want to be an athlete, if you want to freaking hang the moon, fly to the moon, run around the stars, it doesn't matter. What I see a lot of times, like with people that I talk to, they give up right before it's about to change.
Mm,
And I heard a quote from Michael Beasley, ex basketball player. I actually watched his podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said, God will grant you what you need overnight, but you don't know what night it's going to be. So you
mm,
have to show up every day. It don't matter. You show up every day. It's going to happen. You just don't know when. But if you give up
mhm,
at 6:45 the night before it was going to happen, it ain't happening.
mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah, it's
that goes to
powerful.
just what you were saying. You got to show up every day because you never know when your break's going to be. If you're getting over addiction or you're getting over one thing, you might go 2 weeks, and you never know that 15th day may be the day that you're like, you know what, this is pride. I done smoked its ass. But if you surrender on day 14, you never knew that 15 was coming.
Mhm,
So I mean, I think showing up, even if you have that addiction or you have certain things going on, you may dip back down into the valley. You may have hoops and hurdles and, highs and lows, but because it's hard, life's hard, but you've got to pull yourself out. You've got to get back on the narrow and understand why you started doing your trail anyway. Like no one said that this life's easy. It's tough. I know that you've had a rough times and um it's everyone's going through a story, man, and it's they're long written stories. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You got to be able to be there for the whole time. It's not hurry up and get there. It's let me jog and figure this out before I start putting some pace on and really
mm.
get a lock on where I'm headed, in my opinion. That's just kind of how I look at life. I don't
Yeah,
want to rush anything. I live in the moment, and if the moment tells me that I need to lock back in or focus in or um, you know, that's just what I do. Um, I'm here for it, and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's awesome, dude, and I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that this got to take place, and just going to your point, it's like that foundation is key across the board. Like if it is building fitness, you need a foundation to get somewhere. And
Yep.
foundation for me starts with Christ. Like you said, starts with belief in yourself. And just to nail down what you said was just like, you got to show up, dude. You got to show up for yourself because nobody's going to do it for you. And that accountability is key. But
Yeah, a
John,
million
I
times.
want
Like,
to thank you.
yeah, no, go ahead. I was gonna say to
No, go
anyone
ahead.
that,
You're good.
yeah, yeah, to anyone that may feel like, oh man, I did the wrong thing, or I shouldn't have done that. It's like, hey, guess what? You may not have shouldn't done that. You may have messed up. You may have ran into the side of the skid steer. You may have did something you should have done that creates a consequence. You still have to show up for that consequence. And that's what builds character. Because when you run from it, it starts going on up here. And now
Mm,
you're in a cycle of damn, I messed up and I know I messed up. So to your
mm.
point, the showing up needs to be, you need to show up when you're high level success and grinding it out and doing well, but you also got to show up for yourself at the bottom of the barrel where no one's going to dig you out because they don't even know you're down there.
Yep. And to that point is I went through that myself was I was constantly running from my problems and running from my situations and I was pouring alcohol on top of that and I just didn't want to deal with it, and that's something I feel like it's a hard situation for anyone to be in and it's so easy to continue to do that, but until you like have someone that for me like gave me an ultimatum pretty much, and then I just knew that if I continue to do what I was doing that it just wasn't going to end up good. Man, that turnaround point is hard. It's super hard.
Uh,
And if there's anyone, like listening that's like maybe in that depressed state or whatever, it's like it's key to you got to look yourself in the mirror and you got to like who you're looking at because I know for myself there was a lot of times I did not want to look at myself in the mirror because I didn't like who I was looking at and I would just avoid it altogether and constantly be running because I didn't want to deal with confrontation or I didn't want to deal with people telling me what I should be doing. But I think it all stems from what you said is it's all about just holding yourself accountable. Nothing's going to be given to you.
yep, 100%, man. And I know we've probably taken up all the time we need. Um, I really appreciate you bringing me on here. Uh, uh, I appreciate our friendship over the years, and I'm really pumped to see you back, kind of where you're at, and taking a stab at something different to give you a little bit of confirmation on what you were and what you are as a human. You were a great role model growing up in the amateur world of racing, and at the end of the day, it takes an army of people to be successful and do the right things. We're all in a fallen state as human beings, and we all have sin in our body, and it's easy to get off track real quick. And uh, I appreciate what you're doing, bringing people on and telling stories and different kind of things to that scenario. So once again, I appreciate you bringing me on here. And yeah, I know we had some upsets during the middle there with the phone, but hopefully it works out all right, and well, we can move on. And furthermore, dude, we've got contact now. If I'm ever out your way, I'll surely hit you up. Would love to, get some dinner or something, and vice versa. If you're ever around Ohio doing something, dude, don't be afraid to reach out. And um, yeah,
Yeah, Sean. And once again, I appreciate you very much for giving me your time. I had a blast. I think it was awesome. and I'm super proud of you. I like to hear the stories. I like to hear where you're at. I like your mindset, first of all. So, yeah, we'll keep in contact, and I appreciate you very much.
Yes, sir. Tell your brothers I said hello, and we'll probably be in touch soon, man.